everyone, and welcome to Unshackled with Tash. I hope you've all had an amazing week and enjoyed last week's session, which would have been the lovely Christine Dillard all the way from South Dakota. So I hope you guys got a lot of information from that. That was all about coercive control and her book that she wrote with lots of stats and a lot of segments in there that can help you understand and recognize these patterns within your relationship, be it friendship, relationships, workplaces. So I hope you got a lot from that. Again, I want to thank everybody that's joined me, following me, subscribing, jumping on my Instagram, my Facebook, and sharing this with everyone, because the more we get this information out there, guys, the better. So, which brings me to my absolute amazing guest this week. I have known Anthony for 2 years now. I had the pleasure of meeting him when I first moved up here onto the Sunshine Coast. And he was the master of master Toastmasters. He is one of the most phenomenal men I have met. He is a very genuine, grounded soul. And I think that's probably what the connection was to start with. But the reason I've asked Anthony here today is Anthony is the owner and operator of Sunshine Coast Funerals and Moreton Bay Funerals. Now, don't freak out, everyone. We're not speaking negatively about death, but today I wanted Anthony to raise the subject about death is inevitable for everybody. And what Anthony's intention today is to get you to live. This is not about saying go die. This is about let's live, because we all know that that day is going to come. And I think Anthony has the most amazing story and background. He wears many hats. He has been a blind salesman. He is a celebrant. He's been a celebrant for a while. He started off as a wedding celebrant but went down the path of funeral. And what he offers now is services wherever the person wanted to be remembered. Beaches, parks, other places, which he will fill you in on. He's not all about traditional church services. So Anthony, Mr. Anthony Spark, welcome to Unshackled. Please tell my audience and my beautiful listeners who you are and why you're here today.
Thank you, Tash. Thank you for having me on to start with.
My pleasure.
Anthony Spark, born in Melbourne, lived there my entire life up until about 4 years ago. My wife's family live up here on the sunny coast. One of the many people bought property up here during COVID, during lockdown. We had nothing else to do in Melbourne and the government was throwing loads of money at us, so we had to spend it on something. So we bought an investment property, came up here for her mum's 80th birthday. I saw the investment property for the first time, thought, gee, I could live here. So we moved shortly afterwards and haven't looked back. And we're loving the lifestyle up here on the sunny coast, and we'll continue to embrace everything that it has to offer. It's just wonderful. We're in July right now. In Melbourne, the top today is 16 degrees. I think we passed that at about 7:30 this morning.
Yeah, we did. Although we do get a little bit of a cool breeze here and there.
I'm starting to climatize. I'm starting to wear shoes and a jacket every now and then, which is a bit weird. But I still have all my family are still in Victoria. One of my kids has moved to Tassie. I've got 3 kids, 1 stepchild. I have a wonderful extended family who are, well, that side of it is all down in Victoria. Obviously, my wife's family is up here, but we still travel down there quite regularly to keep in touch, and they're a really important part of my life.
That's awesome. And I'm so grateful to have met you and Andrea. Like, you guys are amazing, and you've really helped me feel into restarting a life for myself up here. So I am extremely grateful. So Anthony has written a book called Let's Talk About Death. And for those that can't see it, it says a book about death so you can focus on life. Tell me about this book, Anthony.
It stemmed from the dreadful conversations that we have to have with families when they're planning a funeral service. And, you know, did the deceased have any particular wishes? Did they want a certain way of doing things, that sort of thing. And it's one of those conversations that most people stumble through. It doesn't come naturally. It doesn't feel like a conversation that we should have. It feels like something that is a bit taboo, a bit not to be spoken out loud. And through that process of doing it quite regularly and being quite comfortable with it, you start to wonder, well, what is it about the conversations around death that we don't like having? And so we avoid it, and then we don't know what people want when they pass. We don't get to have those conversations if we leave it too late. So my mum passed last year, and for the last 5 years or so of her life, she's really struggled with dementia, which means her cognitive abilities declined over the years, and it meant that we couldn't have those conversations. Luckily, we had those conversations in a loose form before the dementia kicked in, and she had quite specific plans for what she wanted for her end of life plan. So one of them, she moved in far north Queensland, moved back to Melbourne, find an aged care facility close to my children that works and that sort of thing. So that was terrific that we'd had that conversation already. And then her end of life wishes were all documented. Everyone knew what she wanted. It made her farewell service a whole lot easier to manage because we knew exactly what she wanted and at the same time what she didn't want. So not everything was laid out, but I don't want this. I don't want a church service. I don't want that chapel environment. And I'm all for it. My father-in-law passed a few months ago, and he was quite adamant. I want to be cremated. I want a service in my church. Great.
Fair.
Church-going man, that was his place. That's where he felt comfortable. That's the right place to have a service. But if the church is not your place, where is your place? And let's have the service there.
And,
let's
and
remember
that
you there.
Space. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I know what it's like. Obviously, I've been involved as a paramedic for 30 years. I was around people when that event was happening, and automatically there was already tension when there was no guidelines and no specific, this is what mum or dad would like, or whoever the person is. A lot of egos, a lot of emotion, and a lot of old stories come into play. And that's where this can become quite ugly, right? But if people have the ability to say, hey, when I'm done, can you do this, 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 and this? Now, in my family, it's a running joke. I've told my kids, and I think I've told you this, Anthony, I want like a Whoopi Goldberg Sister Act type event, but I want it outdoors, right? I want people to laugh and dance and celebrate my life. Like, I know people are going to be sad, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen to everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what I want to ask is, you've stood beside hundreds of families during one of the hardest moments of their lives. What's one thing you've learned about living that surprised you?
Good question. I think one of the things that we don't recognize until that time is the grand gestures, the European holidays, the beautiful new home are not anywhere near as important as the tiny moments in our lives. They seem to be the things that have the most impact. That I was thinking about, my daughter and I have a thing that we do where we'll say to each other, there's no back of the house. And it was from an ad on television that we saw. I can't remember what the ad was for, but we both saw it at the same time. We both laughed and then we'd imitate it. Yeah. And that's one of those micro moments that we both remember. So she'll remember that when I'm gone, and it will always put a little smile on her face. But when people are sharing stories about the guest of honor and why they love them and why they're going to miss them and what they learned from them, a lot of the time it's not the big things, it's the small things that have the most impact. And that's been a surprise, I think, for me, is to recognize that the little moments matter.
Yeah, and people always think it's the big things, but like you said, it's the word, the song, the being present. That's the big thing, right?
Yeah.
If someone could sit with you for just 5 minutes before they died, what do you think they would tell us not to waste our lives on? And I know there's been lots of entrepreneurs and billionaires that have said this, but from a a space of somebody that just is here living in the real world.
Yeah, I think we're victims of our own capitalist genius, where we're very much about success is measured by your bank account. So the more money you have, the more successful you get to claim to be.
Yeah.
And I think when our turn is about to come, there's that opportunity to recognize that, you know what, the money's good. There's nothing, please don't think there's anything wrong with money. I'm all for it, but it's not the be all and end all. And I'm not a religious person, but there's a biblical passage that we reference quite a lot saying money is the root of all evil. That's not actually the verse. It's man's love of money is the root of all evil. And money can make us do things that we wouldn't do for any other reason, any other motivation. It's chasing the dollar. So I think for a lot of people, regardless of how much money they've made or not, would perhaps say, you know what, money's fine, but it's probably not the be all and end. You can't take it with you. And there are so many investments you can make in your life that will live on far longer and stronger and be of more value to people than leaving a bucket load of money. So the theory around, you know, my generation makes a packet of money, generational money. I leave it to my kids. They don't understand the work hard ethic. They squander it a bit and their kids squander the rest of it. And then the next generation is back to, oh shit, I have to work for a living.
So someone has to break that cycle.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the man's pursuit of money is all well and good, but at the expense of what? That's the question along the way.
It's so funny. Obviously, one of my biggest stories is having done 30 years of shift work, I missed a lot of my family time. I missed a lot of really special events. And because at the time, I believed I was required, I was needed, and all of those things, which I now know are all core needs that were being met. And I cannot bring them back. But now I see that so differently. And I will make myself available for birthdays and events. And obviously if I'm, got something on that's overseas or something different, but the importance of those little events. And even the other week, I was having a coffee with my daughter and it was a random day. And Anthony, we sat there for like 2 hours just chatting. And she sent me a text later that afternoon and she said, Mum, do you know how nice it was to sit here with you and have no distractions and just like sat there and chatted, laughed about things, talked about other stuff. And that's when you recognize how important those moments are, and they're the things she'll remember, right? And my great singing, of course. But
of course. Yeah.
but as you know, funerals have changed, okay? And you've created ceremonies on beaches and parks and places filled with meaning. What have these more personal celebrations taught you about honouring someone's life instead of simply mourning their death?
I think there's space to do both, to celebrate the life and mourn the loss. And it's our loss. And you know this better than I do, given the work that you do. But the person who's passed, they're okay. I don't know where they are, but they're okay. It's those of us who are left who are grieving and mourning because we've lost someone important to us. And I think that's worth embracing rather than trying to avoid, because we want to be significant enough to other people that they do miss us when they're gone. But hopefully they take what we've been able to contribute to their lives and embrace that and run with it. And so hopefully their life is better because they had the opportunity to spend time with us and we've had some sort of impact. The hardest funerals are the ones where the family and friends don't have a lot to say about the person who's died. Because I wind up having to just do a whole lot of generic things, talking about grief or about relationships or stuff that doesn't have any meaning to it. And so I think finding that balance between celebrating and mourning, and it's not one or the other. And a funeral is the perfect occasion where one moment you're laughing, the next moment you're crying, and then you're back to laughing again. And I don't know that those emotions can exist at the same time together, but they can be right next to each other.
absolutely.
It can
Well,
go from one to the other very
you're
quickly.
so correct. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't be happy and cry at the same time. Yes, happy tears, but sadness and happiness doesn't come together, right?
Yeah.
And it's a split second between the thought or a piece of music or something that's in your nervous system to say, oh, I remember that. Oh my gosh, But the one thing I was going to say just before, when you mentioned about how different people cope in these situations. And I was honoured, guys, to have a page and a bit in Anthony's book, which I was very, 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 very humbled by when he asked if I would give him some information. And my information for people is, you're not just grieving the loss of the person, you're grieving the future, you're grieving all the other things that you did daily with that person. You grieve watching them grow, depending on how old the person was, but you're grieving something that you had planned in your head, because most time people don't have an idea unless somebody's very unwell. But most of the time, especially sudden death, there is so much grief, and then they get so consumed because they live in that, but we should have been doing this and we should have been holidays. And this is where I think honoring what somebody wanted, I'm not saying helps it, but it certainly takes a little bit of that sting out, because you've given them something that they wanted, or they've put that thought into, he loved the water, or, and I again will use my father as an example. My brother and I wanted him to be, have his service at a surf club because he loved the water. He was an ex-merchant Navy. But my eldest sister, who was the boss, was like, no, he's going into a church. And we're like, we don't do church. We're not church people. Anyway, she got what she wanted, and it ended up being quite a horrible service because everything went wrong. And I'm a big believer in, he was there going, I told you I wanted the water. I told you. But I do believe if people have the ability to share what it is that they want, it just takes a bit of that sting out. That's my thoughts behind it. One thing people struggle with is feeling guilty when they eventually laugh again or begin enjoying life after losing someone. Yeah. If our loved ones could speak to us after they passed, what do you think they would want us to know?
I'd like to think that they'd want us to know that it's okay to get on with life. I've told my children that when I go, and firstly, that I've had at 57 years young, I've had a great life. I've had an outstanding life. I've enjoyed my life so very, very much that I don't want to get hit by a bus tomorrow. But if I do, just remember I've had a great life. So, lucky me. I'm extremely grateful for the life, and they've been a big part of it. And when I go, they are to cry their eyes out for 48 hours.
Love that.
And then they're to get on with their life, because if I've had any impact on them, I want that to be reflected in the way they live their life, and not to be doom and gloom. But if I'm a narcissistic prick, no, you'd be grumpy for the rest of your life. I want you wearing black.
Yep.
I want you veiled up. I don't want you to meet anyone. I don't want you to dare look at another man without a shirt on. Don't you? So
Anthony, this is exactly how it works for some people.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to live anymore.
No, that's just selfish, isn't it?
I think that's a beautiful gift you've given your children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've had a similar conversation, but sorry, yeah.
I was going to say, my daughter said it may take more than 48 hours to stop crying, but she gets that. The message is, that was a beautiful thing for her to say, but the intention is there that my work as a parent is never done, but the lion's share of the work is done. Their kids, my kids are in their mid-20s to early 30s, so they're running their own lives, and I hope they're busy trying to produce grandchildren for me.
That's a whole nother beautiful world.
Well, there you go. I can't wait for that. And I can't wait to have an impact on those children's lives and be a part of it, and hopefully create some beautiful memories that my grandchildren will grow up and remember when their granddad did this or said this, or, hanging out on the beach and picking up shells, and just teach them how to kick a football, though. Just the simple things in life. Just hanging out, being a part of it.
Having fun.
Yeah.
When you're helping families write someone's life story,
Yeah.
what makes a life truly memorable? Is it success or something else entirely?
It's 100% success, Tash. It's all about success.
Depends what
The
success is.
There's the catch is, and just because I think something is successful doesn't make it so. Um, if I'm chasing Instagram followers or whatever it might be.
Because we're so good at this media and tech stuff,
Yeah.
aren't we?
Yeah, I'm all over it.
Like a rash.
That's probably not how I'm going to be successful. But no, I think part of one of the ideas of talking about death is to recognize we don't get to be here for forever.
Yeah.
So what do I want to do while I've got the opportunity to do something about it? And that opportunity lasts until I decide it doesn't. So it might be my father's 83 and he's still planning things. He's still got things that he wants to do better and work on and so on. So there's not and there are plenty of 83-year-olds who stopped planning and thinking and they're just sort of existing and surviving. So success is whatever you want it to be. I want to have an extraordinary relationship with my wife. I want to have a great relationship with my children and their partners and my grandchildren, then my extended family. And then I've got the beautiful groups of people that I get to spend time with here on the coast. So I was up running this morning with my running friends, and I wouldn't go if it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
One of the guys who is in my cycle group said, "Hey, how about we go and ride bikes in Italy next year and then go to the cricket in England?" I'm like,
Done.
I was just thinking that. So
Are we best friends?
well, he's just come back from a trip to Europe, and I see all the pictures and so on. And he did a lot of riding while I was over there. He's a killer bike rider, and I thought, wow, that'd be fabulous. And I've spoken to my brothers about going to England to watch the cricket anyway. I thought, great, we'll go and I'll ride bikes for a week or so in England, Italy, and then pop over to England for the cricket. Would be just the greatest thing ever. What a life, eh? But if that's success is having those relationships, having those things in place, great. I think there's an innate need to contribute to society, to earn some money, to pay your way, to provide the sort of life that you want to have. So I'm certainly not poo-pooing the money side of it, but having a successful life is what we're forced to think about it when we consider our mortality.
Yeah.
I don't get to live here for forever. So what do I want to achieve whilst the time I'm here? I'd better get on with it, regardless of my age, because I don't have all the time in the world. And I don't know if I'm going to live to whatever the average age in Australia is. I may get hit by a bus tomorrow. So I'm going to make bloody sure that I've enjoyed myself today. Yeah, I hope not too, but unfortunately, I've seen enough people die prematurely, as I'm sure not even close to as many as you have in 30 years. So you recognise how quickly life can be taken from us. So we don't have time to bugger around.
So I'm actually going to go back to the night of my event and my accident, which was an attempt on my life. That was a near-death experience. So that made me look at life very differently, although I had to go through years of healing. But one of my beliefs, and not everyone has this, but I believe we all have a contract. We have soul contracts and we're here for a reason. And that's my beliefs. I know there's a lot of my viewers that believe this as well. But the one thing I say to people is, why do we wait until someone's gone or passing before we say all the things we wanted to say, right? Why do we wait till the event and we tell them how much we love them? And I know there's a lot of, don't get me wrong, there's dysfunction and there's things that have gone on, 100%. But it's for the ones that just put it off. I'll ring them next week, or I'll, do you see that a lot? People come and say, oh, I should have just come and seen them, or.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like how do you help them process that?
I hope through the book we get to have more people thinking those uncomfortable conversations, telling someone you love them, you've never said that to them in their life and they've been a little bit of a pain in the ass and that sort of thing. That's a really hard conversation. That's emotion. So it's reasonable to put it off.
Yeah.
I'll do it later because we love comfort. We don't
Oh,
like to feel like
absolutely.
we're
Yeah.
stretching ourselves or anything like that. But the best things that we do happen when we're stretching ourselves. So it's kind of a catch 22. So the regret that you feel when you didn't tell someone, that you didn't try and mend the relationship before they pass, you don't get that opportunity again.
No.
And it's pretty easy to beat yourself up for the years following someone's death. Why didn't I have that conversation? Why didn't I tell them? Why didn't I, whatever it might be? And even in a dysfunctional family or relationship where someone just, they really are a prick.
Yeah.
But Buddha says you are not punished for your anger, you're punished by your anger. That anger beats me up, not the person who I'm not getting along well with. So it's finding a way to come to peace with that relationship. It is where it is. It doesn't mean I have to participate in it. It doesn't mean that I have to live with it every day.
No.
But I need to understand that that's where that is. And it's not something that I want to be a part of, but I wish nothing but the best for that person because where they're at now is not a great place to be.
No.
And I don't want them to stay there. I'd rather they had a productive life. And
releasing it. Letting it
fulfill my desire for all of us to be valuable contributors to the community that we live in.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what we are all somewhat responsible for.
And I think too, it's really helpful if there is a situation where they just couldn't have that conversation for whatever reason. Write it down. Put it with them. Send your love. Like even if it's a tough love, because at the end of the day, what's in you needs to come out because otherwise it stores in our body, as we know, right? I guess the thing I want to ask you now, Anthony, is imagine everyone listening today discovers they have 1 year left to live. No, not in fear, but as a gift of perspective. What's the first thing you hope they'd change after listening to this conversation today?
I would love it if people rang up or organised a coffee date and told people how important they are to them. I just don't know that we do that enough. I don't know that there is there such a thing as there is such a thing as enough because you want to tell your kids as often as you can how important they are and what great people they are and that sort of thing. That's not to let them think that they're little precious pumpkins who's better than everybody else. No. But it's just reminding them that whatever happens, I've got your back.
Yep.
Whenever you need something, I will, if I can, I'm going to provide that support for you. And that support sometimes means, no, you sort that shit out yourself because you're old enough and you're strong enough and you're smart enough to do that yourself. So it's not the helicopter parenting that I think we do a lot of these days.
Enabling, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, ring someone and tell them you love them.
Yeah.
Send a message to a friend that you went to high school with that you haven't spoken to for ages and just let them know I'm thinking of you and I really appreciate you and the importance you've been in my life and I'm so very grateful for that. It's those I suspect that being relational beings that we are, that's the important thing.
Connection.
The money's important, but nowhere near as important. We put the money on the pedestal of just work hard and make loads of money and then you'll have whatever you want. No, you can have whatever you want with get by money, not extraordinary money.
Absolutely.
I told my kids as they were growing up, I said, we've always been rich, just not financially.
Just abundant in all other areas of life, which is still rich. It's your definition of rich, right?
Yeah.
And I saw a reel the other day and it was basically you will spend hundreds of dollars to attend someone's funeral and you'll fly from interstate and all of these things, but you won't pick up a phone. Right? Or you won't send a little card. I have always been someone who sends little cards or just I am very much that person that will send messages. And when I don't do it, people go, what's wrong? We're used to these Tasch messages. My thing with my children, and I have done this for as long as I can remember, they get a good morning and a good night every day. No matter what part of the world they're in, I give them a good morning, I love you, and good night, I love you. And it's probably been more so since my incident 9 years ago because that flash through my head that night was I'm never going to see my kids again.
Yeah, right.
And so for me, it's like I need to tell them like, this is my way of saying I appreciate you, I value you, and like you, but learn your own lessons. But I love you and I'm here for you, but that's your journey,
Mm.
right?
I have one of my kids, my eldest said to me one day, a couple of years ago, um, have you ever thought about when the last time you might pick your children up might be? And I went, oh God, I'm crying thinking about it. So whenever I see them, I pick them up.
Yeah.
And the eldest is bloody heavy now, so it's getting harder. But just more incentive for me to stay in the gym and lift a little bit more, so I can get. But when I see them and when I say goodbye, I make a point of picking them up because I don't ever want to think, oh, I just wish I picked him up one more time.
Well, I'm going to give you one more question, if that's okay. I know
Yeah.
you're very, very busy, but I think this shows us who Anthony is. What do you hope people remember about Anthony when it's eventually your turn?
Oh, it's funny on a global scale. I don't give a shit.
Hmm.
I don't. Being famous has never been high on my priorities. But I hope the people who know me, legitimately know me,
Hmm.
uh, think that I was a reasonable person, and I had a red hot crack at whatever was going on. I think I'd like to be remembered for doing my bit and hopefully leaving the planet in better shape than I found it. God, if that was it, if that was what people who knew me said, no, no, Anthony contributed to the world. I have a need to feel like I'm contributing. And so if that was it, and that's my children and my wife and our extended family and our friends and all of those sorts of things, if they just said he had a red hot crack and he left the world in better place and he found it, my work is done.
I love that. Absolutely. Thank you. That's so beautiful. Anthony, thank you for your time and your vulnerability and your openness and your honesty in everything we spoke about today. And guys, for anybody that would like to get Tony's book, where can they get it?
I have a website, sunshinecoastfunerals.com.au. There is a very humble tag on there called Buy My Book.
Buy me.
Buy my book, and it gets posted out to you. And there's no postage on it.
Okay.
It's just
He gets
buy
on a
it,
bike and
out it
delivers
comes. I have done that actually.
it. I'm sure you have. Well, thank you for bringing up a topic that can be very controversial and, as you said, taboo. You've made this, I believe, you've made this very light and you've made people look at things in a different perspective. And I want to thank you again for sharing this with my community, my audience, and just being the brilliant man that you are.
You're a wonderful person, Tash. Thank you for having me. Much
It's my
appreciated.
pleasure. Thank you guys for joining us again today. And as I said, do not freak out when you see the title, Death. It's not about death, it's about living. So have a wonderful week. As always, please follow me, subscribe, pass this on to as many people. You can get me on Instagram, on Linktree. You can find me on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. I've now got tashrogers.com where you can find me on a website and all the stuff that I offer there. Again, thank you for the shares, the follows, and again for your listening today. Have a great week and we'll see you next week.